Our region's business is sponsored by PNC for the achiever in you.
Many employers have a pretty big decision to make pretty early in the new year, whether to retain responsibility for management of their retirement plans or bring in outside management. It all has to do with new Department of Labor rules on investment advice and whether employers want to retain the liability. The decision is important to every employee with a 401k or similar defined contribution plan. Peter Ferrise is with PNC Retirement Services, a sponsor of our region's business. And welcome. Good to see you again. By the way, Happy New Year.
Thank you, same to you.
Yeah, well, a new year always brings change and new opportunities as well as new challenges, and one of them seems to be in this retirement plan space.
That's right. The defined contribution space is no different. I actually think that it's at a seminal point in its history. The Department of Labor recently came out with a final ruling pertaining to the provision of investment advice with respect to 401k plans.
Okay, and what does that mean exactly in terms of investment advice? Like who's giving it, I guess?
Yeah, that's right. Essentially, it allows businesses or plan sponsors to decide whether they want to continue to handle the investment management function of their 401k plan, or if they would prefer to outsource that to a financial firm.
Okay, and that's where an organization like PNC Retirement Solutions come in. That's what you all do?
That is one of several things that we do, yes.
Okay, so the employer can continue to manage the plan and give advice, or they can hire an outside entity to do it, like your firm. What are the pros and cons of each choice? Why not? Why wouldn't employers just continue to do it themselves?
You know, Bill, we like to say that it really comes down to what we call the 3 R's. Resources, rule, and risk.
Okay.
By resources, we mean, does the business have the internal expertise necessary to continue to manage the investment part of the 401k plan? As for rule, we're really talking about control. How much is total control important to the business when it comes to managing the investments of the plan? And then last, but certainly not least, is risk. Is the business willing to take on the additional risk that comes with being the investment manager for the 401k plan?
Well, and let's talk about that risk piece. What is the risk you are taking on if you as the business decide to keep managing the plan and dispensing the investment advice, essentially?
Yeah, essentially it comes down to the potential risk of litigation, right? And in particular, around fiduciary responsibility. If they choose to continue to manage the 401k investment management, they then, in essence, are electing to be the fiduciary, the investment fiduciary for the plan.
Okay, and the term fiduciary means really then that investment advisor is always trying to represent the employees that are participating in the plan, their best interest, as opposed to the interest of the plan manager or whatever, right? And so if you don't do that effectively, then the employees can sue, right?
That's correct. It's all about the participant. And as you said, the fiduciary responsibility that one takes on means that you must always act in the best interests of the plan participants.
And this is a relatively new thing to have it defined that clearly, is it not?
Yeah, it was just earlier this year that the Department of Labor came out with the ruling.
And is there a deadline? Is there a certain time this year when the employers have to make a decision about what to do?
Well, as we speak, the ruling is scheduled to take effect on April 7th of this year.
Okay, so it really is looming. And what are you finding so far? I mean, what kind of businesses are making a change? Are you getting a feel yet for the marketplace and how this is shaking out?
You know, it's interesting. The sample size is small, as you can imagine at this point, but so far we're finding that approximately 2 out of every 3 businesses are choosing to outsource that investment management function to a financial firm.
Okay, I can see why for a lot of businesses that would make sense. What about the ones that are keeping it? What kinds of firms decide, you know what, we're comfortable, we'll do it ourselves?
Yeah, you know, it's hard to really pin that type of firm down to any certain set of criteria, but what we're finding is generally it's a group of people that for whatever reason like that control of managing the investments within their 401k plan.
Okay.
On the other hand of the equation, those firms that feel that they don't have the internal expertise or are not willing to take on that additional risk, potentially in the form of litigation, those are the ones that are saying it's probably in our best interest to outsource this.
I remember years and years ago when 401ks first came around, there really was no investment advising going on. It was more of a turnkey from the standpoint of the employee. Has that world really changed a lot?
It really has, and that was, I think, part of the idea behind the new ruling. The Department of Labor wanted to better define investment advice versus investment management, and they are two very different things.
Okay, so I guess as companies begin to think this through and decide if they want to outsource it, how do they make a decision about who to do business with, how to find the right advisor to take it on?
Well, it's interesting. Generally in one of two ways. Some firms, the bigger firms, may already have a third-party consultant or advisor to help them manage through this process. However, the typical, medium-sized business or below, they'll oftentimes look to people that maybe they have their banking relationship with, their lending relationship with, as a good place to start.
Okay, so the first step is reach out to somebody potentially you already have a relationship with and talk to them about it and see if that's the right pathway.
Exactly.
So are you seeing a stampede at this point of companies, making the change, or do you think there's still an awareness issue out there?
We're just getting to the point now where people are starting to realize that there's a bit of a sense of urgency around this, and we are starting to see a greater flow of discussions than we saw just as recent as a month or two ago.
Okay, a lot of uncertainty right now, obviously, with the new administration about whether the government follows through on a lot of this, but I guess the most prudent path is assume this rule's going to take effect and then plan accordingly, right?
That is what we're doing. Our expectation is that the rule will continue to be in effect and the dates of effectiveness will remain intact.
All right, Peter Ferrise from PNC Retirement Services, thanks so much. Word of the wise, April 7th, right?
April 7th.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bill.
And we'll be back in a minute with a little more dollars and cents. Stay with us.